All right, welcome everyone. We have our first official roundtable with our new group of coaches here. We're super excited to just kind of answer some of the questions that you guys presented to us. We're going to get into a couple different things today, balancing life and training, tips for breathing during workouts, staying injury free, and then at the end, we're just going to kind of talk about some of the misconceptions or challenging parts of our jobs as kind of hybrid and online coaches. So, just to give some quick intros here, we have Bree. I think a lot of people have kind of seen her around on our Instagram. Bree, how's it going?
Good. Happy to be here.
We have Jeremy, who is a little bit of a newer coach for us. We made an official announcement a couple weeks ago on Instagram. Just got done competing on at MFC. So, Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you.
And then we have Michelle, this is technically your first introduction to everybody. So Michelle works with Jeremy. She's been around the space for a while now. She's done lots of different things from high rocks to Spartan races to competing in CrossFit. So we're super excited to have her on board. She's currently managing at Jeremy's gym as well, and developing one of the locations there. And she has decided to come on board with us as well. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you.
So yeah, let's just get into this first kind of topic here, guys. What is or how to balance life, coaching, training. Maybe we can tackle this one from a perspective of an athlete first, and then kind of look at potentially tackling it from the coaching perspective. If you're doing coaching group classes over kind of what we're doing. So, anyone want to start us off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Um, I have only been a coach and an athlete in the sport of CrossFit. I've never really done either on its own. And I think when I was younger, it was a little bit harder. Full transparency, just of not being selfish, with my time being more important than an athlete's time. Especially coaching classes where you have to be very present and not worried about getting your own workout in before you're coaching a great class. And it can be really challenging just being at the gym all day long. Coaching, getting there at 4:40 in the morning and then not leaving till 5 p.m. at night and trying to get your pieces in between classes and clients and things like that. Can be really, really challenging. Honestly, it just improved for me when I started backing off on crazy amounts of volume in CrossFit, which we'll probably get into that with the later topics, but that helped a ton. And just kind of, I always think of it like wearing different hats, like my athlete hat is off when I'm coaching. And when I'm athleting, I'm present with myself because that's the time I give back to myself. And yeah, I think that's kind of how I try to balance it a little bit better.
Bree, what kind of strategies do you have for switching hats? Because I think everybody has like a bunch of different identities in the space, and like especially as athletes, if they're working a full time job or going to school or something like that. How do you switch that hat, and like how do you switch it quickly when you come into the gym to train or coach or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I try to give myself a 10-minute buffer time. If I finish a qualifier workout or a workout, I one, being professional as a coach is really important to me. I think our profession, especially in CrossFit, isn't always taken seriously. And if you're showing up sweaty from your workout and out of breath at the whiteboard, personally, I don't like that. I don't like when my coaches do it. I don't like to do that. So I try to give myself a 10-minute buffer to cool down, reflect on my workout, and then start prepping for class. I go up to the whiteboard. That's when I start talking to members, things like that. Now that I'm managing, I don't coach as much as I used to. So it's a little bit easier, but there's still other tasks that you have more tasks to do, I guess. But I think that 10-minute buffer is really important. The drive to the gym to get your workout in. I make sure I don't have my computer open. I put my phone away so I'm not distracted with work because that can easily get you on your phone for 20 minutes without even realizing it. And then you've bled into your warm up time and now you're rushing and now your workout's not going well and then you're pissed and then you're trying to rush the rest of the day. So for me, it's just all about a 10-minute buffer, 5 minutes to reflect on what I just did, 5 minutes to prep for what I'm about to do.
Yeah, yeah. Jeremy and Michelle, I think you guys kind of have a little bit of a maybe different perspective as you got a crazy variable in the equation with children. How do you guys kind of work on balancing everything?
Jeremy, you want to take it
For
first? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go. With like starting off in the day, like usually coaching. Majority of my classes are in the morning, so that's usually it goes well because I don't necessarily would need to rush uh, to get stuff in and then have to coach class. So a huge chunk of all my classes are in the morning, and then I get into my workouts. So luckily with kids in daycare, I have quite a bit more time.
Hmm.
But that usually changes in the summer just because my class structures, constantly change. So I'm fortunate enough to where I don't necessarily have to rush, but on occasion it's, like what Bree said, kind of have to, lock into your focus on what you're doing and without any distractions and get stuff in. So usually in the summer months, I'd have like a 2 hour buffer so I can't kind of dink around if I'm doing, a significant amount of volume, if I'm getting ready for a qualifier or competition. It's uh, trying to minimize conversations with people, or if members asking you questions about hey, can you help me with this, or hey, what are your thoughts on this. It's trying to get to your point as quickly and not let the conversation get too far ahead just so you can try to fit things in. But always, I know, I kind of feel like as a coach you kind of always have your coaching hat on even if you're training um,
Hmm.
in the gym, so it's kind of never off, but at times it is off.
What do you do? So like the members conversation, like I'm sure people listening right now, if you are a coach, like you know the member that walks in and you're just like, I'm about to have a 30-minute conversation. So what kind of things do you do, or like how do you kind of like back off the conversation so you're not feeling super, like make it feel like you're super cold, like you're still invested in that individual?
So I actually turned down the music. So we have a whole other section in our gym for like open gym space. So the time I work out, usually it's pretty empty. But the conversations that happen, I actually turn down the volume. So we're shouting across the gym, having our conversation. So that's kind
So
of my
just
strategy. So we're talking and we're still doing stuff. So we're still kind of still able to, get whatever we need to get done and still kind of be engaged still with the conversation.
Gotcha.
That's my strategy.
So it's more so like having the conversation while you're doing things.
Yeah. So you typically it happens during like the warm up, but if we're
Yeah.
kind of like mid set, I'm like, hey, just give me 1 sec. Let me get through this set right quick, and then we'll continue our conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So just putting the conversation on pause almost, doing your
Yeah.
work and then coming back to the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another thing that you kind of hit on that was maybe it's not like full realization, but it seems like you've set your schedule up to allow you to coach classes in the morning, work out, and then you're back for the rest of the day doing whatever it is you need to do, online coaching or
Hmm.
online work, whatever it might be. And then you got the kids at night. So is that maybe, and Michelle, maybe you can hit on this, but like, is that super important? Like you setting your schedule and dictating your schedule when you have kids to balancing everything inside of life?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I try to be as present as possible, and with like coaching, gym stuff, I try to leave all of that at the gym and not bring it home with the kids, especially when you are coaching folks online, or if people do have questions. Is doing my best to leave work at work and answering things as needed. Usually it's like when the kids are sleeping is I'll catch up on some emails, text messages, or for example we be doing like video reviews with people, so it's when the kids are asleep, it's like I have a either 60 minute, it could be 30 minutes or 60 minutes, it can kind of vary. So it's like you don't really know. So whenever they're asleep is kind of like the window to get stuff done, and it's you're on the clock.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle, what about you? Maybe do you have some tips for maybe like some more working professional individuals?
So to Jeremy's point, sorry, I was trying to organize my thoughts. That
Yeah.
I do have to set a time during the day. Like this is when I'm going to work
Hmm.
out. My schedule tends to vary a lot. So sometimes I have to go day by day. Like, okay, I'm going to take Jeremy's class at 8 o'clock this morning, or I'm going to work out after I pick Zoe up from school today. Whatever it is, I kind of have to. My husband's in the military, so a lot of time I'm playing single parent. Thankfully, my kids are a little bit older now, like 12 and 8. So mom's not as cool anymore. So when I'm at home, I can kind of send them off with their friends. They don't need me as much. But for me, getting my workout in, it's definitely like I have to set that time for myself and commit myself to that and remind myself that it matters, it's important, and I have a goal, and that's why I'm doing this. And if I,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So are you setting your day-to-day schedule then like right away in the morning? Are you setting it the night before? Like how are you setting that exactly?
So I try to look a week ahead, and I'm like, okay, well, I can work it here this week, and then sometimes I'll have a personal training client who needs to reschedule, and I'm like, okay, well, now I can't work out at that time, so now I have to work. So I have to be really flexible with myself and patient with myself and my
Hmm.
schedule. But it yeah, so I think being flexible and patient is like my number one, and knowing that your time and your workout time is worth it, and it's okay to be a little bit selfish and allow yourself that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So I guess that's with busy schedules, like is the big thing on this is like figuring out when you need to do something and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of like setting your schedule, whether it's a week in advance or maybe you have a very consistent schedule, and then just kind of like making sure that you stick to that schedule and be disciplined about sticking to that schedule.
Yeah, discipline, very important.
Yeah, yeah, cool. You guys got anything else to add on that or?
Yeah, I was thinking about like, like the member that comes up and talks to you a lot, like something
Yeah.
I don't like struggle with this as much anymore because like Jeremy, like we have an open gym side too, and usually like anyone on the open gym side, like we're all trying to get our workout in, so we'll kind of like talk like while we're warming up and stuff. But at my last gym was so big and like members would stick around class and like want to talk to me afterwards. And like, I remember one of the coaches there was even like, it took you like 30 minutes to cross the gym just from people talking to me. So something that I would do is I would like ask them to start helping me pick my equipment up. And then they would immediately be like, oh no, I'll let you get back to your workout. And then they'd leave. So like, if you just give them a task, they're usually like, nah, I'm out of here, girl.
Perfect.
So if I feel the
That's a
conversation
good
getting
one.
to that, like, okay, we've been talking for 10 minutes and it's going to go further, I'd just be like, all right, you want to grab a 45 for me so we can walk over here and get it on the bar or something like that? And they'd be like, oh, no, 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 I won't interrupt you anymore. And I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, get out of here.
Oh, goodness.
That's awesome. That's a great strategy.
So it's a good one, coaches. It works every time.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah, that's hilarious. That's awesome. Okay, well, let's get into maybe a little bit more coaching kind of content here. Um, and let's dive into maybe some tips for breathing in workouts. CrossFit is obviously a very respiratory sport. And I think this is always something that people can really work on and just kind of develop as their breathing as a whole. Um, so yeah, maybe we just kind of dive in. I mean, there could be a whole podcast on this, obviously, and there's a lot of just knowledge out there around breathing in general. But maybe if we could just hit some quick tips for developing different breathing patterns inside of movements, and just kind of take it from there. Bree, you want to start again, or?
Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's always some new like breathing protocol that circles the internet that people are trying. Like it was Wim Hof breathing, then it was nasal breathing, and like I remembered having members in class like constantly nasal breathing, and I was like, if you want to go slow, nasal breathe. That's fine. But like we're not trying to go slow today, like 30, 45 minute zone two, you have to like work to keep your heart rate down, fine, try it. But like in the middle of a metcon, probably not the best place for it. So your breathing can kind of dictate your pace as well. Trying to like breathe while you move, it really becomes a skill, especially on gymnastic stuff. You know, we just had a very heavy toe to bar workout in Fittest of the Coast. And I know like a lot of clients that I talked to or like people that kind of did it were just like, I couldn't get my heart rate down. And one thing I asked them was like how they were breathing on the toe to bar. And I think like a really simple way to think about it is breathe out while you're doing the work and breathe in on the down phase, or I mean, on the recovery phase. So breathe in on the recovery phase, you know, if you're doing a squat, stand up, breathe in, hold it on the way down, breathe out when you're standing up. That's the work that you're doing. Toe to bar, when you're contracting, you're breathing out. In the extension, you're breathing in when your lungs are open. You know, so just like learning how to breathe with your movement becomes a skill, but you almost have to slow down in order to go fast later. Like slow it down before you speed it up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What do you guys got, Jeremy, Michelle?
I think well, one thing that through the years I've kind of learned as well too is even when your breathing gets sporadic, uh, everybody tries to like control it too much. Um, I think what can help is, accepting that, hey, my breathing's just going to be out of whack and I'm not going to be able to calm it down, especially, if you have to go from movement to movement, like in an AMRAP and it's, you're kind of like racing through every single thing. It's just like accepting, it's like, hey, I'm not in a place where I have to kind of calm things down, is accepting that it's like, hey, this is my breathing and this is how it's going to be. And take your little breaths in as you're going through movements and just kind of you know stay in that suck faster, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Michelle, what do you got?
I was gonna. What Bree said is exactly what I was gonna say, which is like when your lungs are open, that's breathe, and then like when you contract, that's kind of the time to breathe out because it kind of goes with your body and it's kind of more natural. And then also what Jeremy said, where it's okay for it to kind of suck, like push into the suck a little bit, and it's okay.
Hmm.
You are still breathing. You haven't passed out yet. You're good. So
Yeah, yeah. Have you guys experimented at all with any of the kind of like fads that have been going around over the last decade with breathing, like Wim Hof or box breathing or anything like that? Nasal breathing during workouts?
I've done box breathing and nasal breathing, but the nasal breathing was more so like easy effort type stuff,
mm,
Okay.
and just learning how to breathe essentially uh was like the more so the target.
Hmm.
um And I think there's a place and time to learn how to breathe and strengthening your diaphragm just to be able to handle just the amount of stress you're putting on your body in the middle of a workout.
mm,
Yeah.
And I think as athletes, don't overlook it, but it shouldn't be like the only focus for your breathing. You're in the middle of like a tester of a workout, all of a sudden it's like I have to nasal breathe, or oh, I'm trying to breathe through my mouth. Oh, this is gonna be horrible. It's like, no, just breathe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Jeremy, you did say something interesting there. Like you said you learned how to breathe with nasal breathing. Is that through like specific movements or what? Can you expand on that a little bit?
So with like for example, sitting on a bike and just learning how to breathe through your nose, just expanding your diaphragm and just calming, things down and just learning how to contract with your breathing, in which when it was time to race, I wasn't, you're not thinking about I have to nasal breathe during this workout. It's, you train your breathing so you're actually breathing well and you can actually take in those large breaths in the middle of a workout without having to think about breathing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
so it's almost like you're training, like with the nasal breathing and like going at a low effort on the bike or something like that. You're
mhm,
training your body how to just naturally breathe while it's moving. So that when you
correct.
go into the actual workout, you're like, hey, this is second nature. I don't need to actively think about, hey,
Yeah.
motherfucker, take a breath.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh wow, it's like I'm not sucking wind right now. This is great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about has anyone else tried any of the fads? That's a great point, Jeremy. Definitely like some good carryover for athletes.
Yeah. I wouldn't say this is like a fad, but we're currently working on my breathing like with anything overhead.
Yeah.
and like weight overheads, and
Yeah.
that's hard for me.
Yeah.
I
We're
have tried
actually
Wim Hof. What? Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we're working on something similar to what you were doing on the bike with Bree, and just holding weight overhead and forcing herself to move with that weight overhead, and then for extended periods of time, and then breathe during those movements. So
It's hard. It
yeah,
looks easy, but it's hard. I have like done some Wim Hof breathing before, like underwater swims, and that
yeah,
actually helped, like be able to hold your breath underwater for longer periods of time while you're like trying to do a fast swim.
totally.
I don't think it's applicable to everything. I think people definitely do it a little bit too much, or in like cold tubs and stuff like that. But that was definitely helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle, have you worked on any of this stuff or?
Yeah, so I started as a swimmer all through, like Bree talked about
Mm,
swimming, all the way through college. And that kind of taught me how to like breathe, honestly, because I would count my strokes
yeah.
and then breathe. And then I was able to take that like 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 in sort of count from swimming into like any sort of cardio I did. And having been like a
Mm,
20-year cardio athlete, like that's kind of where I find I go, 1, 2, 3 in through my nose, 1, 2, 3 out through my mouth. And then that's kind of where
hmm.
I tend to catch my breath during workouts because that's where I'm the most comfortable breathing. So for better or for worse, I taught myself that, and I think that if you're a cardio athlete, that might be somewhere that you can like catch your breath a little bit. But if you're
Yeah.
not, then it gets a
Have
little bit harder. If you're dying during
have
cardio.
you
Yeah.
Yeah, have you tried to apply that to any of the athletes that you've worked with in the past? Is getting them to do the 1 2 3 1 2 3?
Yeah, so a lot of my OCR athletes, my runner athletes, they're like, I can't breathe. I'm like, all right, breathe in 3 seconds, then breathe out 3 seconds. They're like, well, now my chest is burning. I'm like, yep, yes, it is, and you're gonna get used to it. And they do eventually start to be like, oh yeah, I'm getting bigger lungfuls of air, and now I can run longer because I'm not just sucking air while I'm trying to exercise. Because they're,
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I think this does start to tie into staying injury free / recovered on qualifiers, as our breath is probably one of the most important things for down regulating our central nervous system. Um, Michelle, maybe you can kind of hit on some things for staying injury free or just recovering inside of qualifiers, as we're on the back end of qualifier season here, but the Open's coming up, so maybe just kind of bringing some awareness to potential lessons learned throughout this qualifier season that people can apply to the Open coming up here.
Yeah, so number one thing, of course, is like tracking your volume, making sure that you're not just like overly like tripling or quadrupling what you're doing. And
Hmm.
then, and by writing it down, like actually write it down and look at it and see what you're doing. Recovery is going to be huge, and doubling recovery doesn't mean getting double sleep. There's nutrition involved, there's intentional stretching, foam rolling, like intentionally taking time to recover. And then also um, your warm ups, and your cool downs, they need to be general and very specific to what you're doing. So don't just jump in and be like, yeah, I did some shoulder, some of this, and now I'm ready for muscle ups, because that's not going to do it for you, especially as we get older. We have to take some time
Yeah,
to actually warm up and cool down. So those three things, and I mean, we can expand on those, of course, but are huge, especially that warm up and that cool down and the mobility. I find that a lot of athletes, when they hurt themselves, it's because they didn't mobilize or warm up properly. And you're adding more stress to your body during qualifiers as well. And stress is stress on your body. Your body doesn't care if you're stressed out from work or if you're stressed out from a workout. It's stress. So you have to manage the stress in other areas of your life in order to, increase the stress in your workouts. So
for sure.
all
Could
things
you
to think
could
about.
you maybe Yeah, could you maybe just kind of walk us through what you would consider like a good guide for a warm up and a cool down inside of workouts or inside of qualifier workouts?
Uh, Can you give me like an example of like a workout?
Yeah, maybe like do for example, maybe just like the fittest of the coast workout with the double unders, toes to bar, and shoulder overhead. So 14-minute AMRAP, 30 double unders, 15 toes to bar, 10 shouldered overhead.
All right, so we got spike in our heart rate. We got a lot of shoulders. We got some core. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna want to warm up, get a nice little like couple minutes on the bike or jump roping,
Mhm.
kind of warm up our heart rate, get ourselves moving. And then from there, we need to mobilize our shoulders, get our core activated for a more specific warm up. Get on the bar, hang a little bit, get those lats turned on, um, stuff like that. Sorry, I have to sit down and write it out to get a really specific.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah,
So a lot of it is just like kind of prepping, making sure you're prepped for the movements and stuff like that. Is there
yeah.
a
Prepping
specific
yourself.
time duration that you like would recommend for people, and like specific time duration for cool down as well, or?
I mean, I'd say at least 15 minutes to warm up, minimum.
Yeah.
And then cool down should probably be at least 15 minutes as well. And that's going to be a little bit more mobility in the cool down. Maybe even some breathing to bring your heart rate
Okay.
back down, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you could kind of throw in like some of the Wim Hof and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Jeremy and Bree? Like what about you guys? You guys have just come off of kind of Jeremy competing and then Bree's in the midst of finishing out her fittest of the coast qualifiers. What do you guys think is kind of some important stuff for staying injury free or recovered during qualifier season?
I think as athletes, when you're in the midst of competition, your senses are fairly heightened. So also realizing that not every little uncomfortable thing is necessarily your hurt. So, I mean, some common places would be like, backs, shoulders. It's like, oh, nope, I did too much. It's not always necessarily the case. It's more so just like, we're stating kind of down regulating, kind of, bringing yourself down a little bit because you're going to be in this heightened spot, especially, competition. You're coming in, to the venue, you're going to be in a heightened state already just because the anticipation of competing. So whatever your practices have been, whether you foam roll, do ice baths, at MFC we had ice baths and those were pretty, handy after every day because, our legs were pretty trashed the whole weekend. And those Normatec boots. So I think it's doing stuff that you've already done before,
Yeah.
and that works for yourself, and not trying to do new things is usually can also lead to, I'd say, injuries while you're competing. So if you've never gotten a massage in the middle of a competition, all of a sudden you're getting a massage. Well, you probably not used to being that relaxed, so that's going to open the door for potential stuff to happen to you. For example, with ice baths, if you're not used to doing ice baths in the middle of a competition, like this could even be during qualifiers, it's probably not the time to start. I mean, if you were to practice some of that stuff while you're training, then you know how your body kind of reacts to that. You'll probably put your mind at ease as well, and kind of keep you healthy throughout qualifiers, especially, when we have 4 weeks of a qualifier. Warm up cool downs are going to be your best bet to staying, recovered and injury free and not doing anything new that you haven't done in training leading up to your competition, which I, classify if you're doing a qualifier, that's still a competition, even if it's still in your gym. So it's kind of keeping those things in mind and not steering away and doing new things. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of massages you're getting, but mine are not relaxing.
Mine are so
I said they're not relaxing for you?
No.
Oh, I get beat the fuck up in my massages.
Oh, dude, I fall asleep. I snore so loud. It's
There's
so
no
bad.
way.
Yeah.
There's no
Oh,
way.
I am out.
Jeremy,
I
no.
wake up because I
Those are
snore. And it only happens in the massages. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry.
He's like drooling on the table.
Oh, dude, it's so bad.
No.
I'm like
Jeremy,
drooling, friggin' I
Jeremy's
have
like,
snot coming out of my nose. It is so
Jeremy
bad.
finishes at the competition. He's like Googling nearest massage envy.
Just,
Yes.
just
That's
like I'll
exactly what I
wake
thought
up
of
and
when you
I'm
said he
like
fell asleep.
doing this whole ordeal, and just like I'm a mess.
Oh, God.
That's hilarious. Bree, do you have anything to add on to that, or?
Yeah, I like to like for myself and my clients, like with warm-ups, I kind of like to split it up into four parts for qualifiers and competitions. First, like part one is going to be more of like blood flow, getting the
Hmm.
body like just little warm, little slick with
Hmm.
sweat. Um, Slick was a weird word to use for that. And then part, I don't know why I said that. That's weird. Part two is going to be like mobility specific, So this last Fitness of the Coast qualifier had some pretty heavy deads in it. As we know, I hurt myself on the deadlift workout in Fitness of the
Yeah.
Coast last year, and I did not like warm up enough for that one. I was underslept, like kind of rushing my warm up because I needed to coach class afterwards, and ended up hurting my back. So this time I was like definitely very diligent on it, but definitely a lot of hamstrings, hip flexors, shoulders, upper thoracics. I made sure to hit on like the three target areas I needed to be just nice and mobile during that workout. Part three is movement specific. So I started warming up, getting upside down, started warming up my deadlifts and power cleans. Started with power cleans at the lighter weight. Once I got to my power clean weight, stuck with warming up my deadlifts. And then part four is the primer of the workout where I like actually do kind of like a 2 round kind of run through of it. Started with a wall walk, went to my deadlift, wall walk, power clean, wall walk, and then power cleans again just to kind of see how it felt. And then I rested, cooled down, and started the.
Yeah, Bree, those are some really good points. Sorry for going out there. I need to fix my camera situation. But yeah, Bree, those are some really good points. Really unique organization too of just kind of how to warm up as well. I think maybe one big thing that we could just kind of quick hit on here is like, what do you like? And this is probably the most missed aspect of recovery is like your cool down. What kind of general guidelines do you guys have for cooling down? Is it better to foam roll? Is it better to stretch? Do you need to do like cyclical machine work? Is it, can you just go for a walk? What kind of things do you guys recommend for that?
I definitely think like doing some type of just like even like 3 to 5 minutes of like a walk, a bike, and trying to like that's when I'll like nasal breathe and just kind of like mentally and physically kind of decompress. And then I prefer to stretch, just very like passive stretching, like that spread eagle on the wall or like a frog stretch, pigeon, things like that, just to kind of get the body like not so tight and locked up. Those are my preferences, and it takes like 10 to 15 minutes. But I think it's more just about like decompressing and not staying in this heightened state the rest of the day.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
almost
I'm
coming
in the
down
same
into like
boat.
a parasympathetic state.
Yeah, yeah, precisely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Bree. I like to mostly use a bike to cool down. I always recommend using a bike and then into some targeted foam rolling. So specifically to, what you hit today or in your training session, competition, a little stretching. If you kind of have the tolerance to keep cooling down that way. I mean, I know some people just kind of want to get out and just leave, but I mean, at least 5 to 10 minutes of just cooling down helps the body.
Mhm. Yeah.
A lot, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes nothing. Grab your protein shake, hit a walk around the block or something like that.
Yeah, just get your heart rate down because,
Definitely.
yeah.
Especially us
Yeah.
old folks.
Yeah, yeah. I I think these warming up and cooling down are probably two of the most missed opportunities at live competitions, especially.
Hmm.
Especially live competitions.
Yeah, yeah.
Day
So,
three of a competition, you see
yep,
people falling off like crazy.
yeah, yeah. And it's just like your battery's trying to recover each day. So, like, the quicker you can get into that parasympathetic state and recovering, the more your battery's going to recover for Saturday and Sunday, and the better you're going to be on come Sunday. So I think those honestly, like warm ups and cool downs probably could have their own podcasts of their own again.
Especially like live competitions. 2 day, like anything over a day, like on day two, you already start hearing people in the warm up area saying, I'm so sick of warming up. I'm not even going to do it. Every competition I've
Yeah,
ever done, I hear people say
yeah.
that. And like, Leanna and I last year, like we were always like 30 to 45 minutes early, like getting warmed up. We'd go back to the
Hmm.
warm up area and we were the only ones usually cooling down after the, besides like other blacklisted athletes, but like in our division, we were some of the only ones like cooling down. Even our last event, we like went back there. We were the only ones back there, you know, and I really think it was just a matter of like recovery. As
Totally,
like part of why we won that competition and like warming up and stuff like that. You have to take your warm up seriously in competition.
totally. Yep, yep.
Yeah, we saw the
Um,
same thing at MFC.
Yeah.
It dwindled by day 3.
Yeah, even like the last event on day one, people are already, like the first event, everyone's back there warming up. They're like doing extra, probably the most warm up they've ever done in their life. And then by the end of the day, like you see half the people there.
the unfortunate thing is all those people that are doing the extra warm up or the longest warm up of their life are only doing it because they're nervous and they're trying to get rid of their nerves, not because they're
Yeah,
actually like, hey, I'm going to do something good for my body.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, let's let's jump in here to one more thing, and then we'll kind of jump into the job aspect. But uh, how one of the questions we got asked was how to successfully mix powerlifting and CrossFit, and I think we can kind of address that. We can address that one, but maybe as like a bigger general rule of thumb is how do you train both CrossFit and a secondary sport? I think would be a good kind of like a general rule of thumb, and maybe we can get specifically into powerlifting as well. So, what do you guys got on that?
Do- okay. Well, I actually was just talking about this with my boyfriend the other day because I think like oftentimes like main lifts can get ignored in CrossFit, or they don't want to overdo it, especially deadlifting. I feel like a lot of like gyms try to avoid it or coaches avoid it. We do a lot of pulling in CrossFit, but I mean, every qualifier and open, there's pretty high volume deadlifts or heavy deadlifts in there. Like, you can
Hmm.
almost bet that there's going to be, so you should be training it and making sure that you're just not ignoring those your foundational lifts. So I think in general, like for CrossFit, that's how you should do it. If you're prioritizing powerlifting, that's when you should maybe look at your CrossFit volume and maybe just do it a couple times a week. If you enjoy it, like don't stop doing what you love, but don't let it overtake what your main goal is.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jeremy, you were kind of a two-sport athlete for a while too, Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit. Those probably transfer over just a little bit better, but what do you kind of got on this?
Uh, we had more like I did more like specific days targeted to each thing. So, for example, if like a Monday was more Olympic weightlifting, and we snatched, clean and jerk, did like a squat variation, then some accessory work. But back when I was a little bit younger, you could then go session number 2, more CrossFit specific stuff. So it was more like dedicated to like the sport. Now, if you're short on time and you can't necessarily do a double day, for example, it would be like a Monday is like specifically for weightlifting, and then we hit Wednesday, for example, is more like CrossFit specific stuff. So your lifting may be more speed work with your Olympic lifts, and then more gymnastics focus type work. So it's kind of you'd split it into, each day was kind of targeted with specific things for the sport that you're doing.
Mhm.
But then it, goes into like a warm up and cooling down. You had to be very intentional with, how we warm up for Olympic weightlifting a day versus your CrossFit day.
Mhm.
So it varied or each day was kind of its own specific targeted training.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Michelle, what about kind of more endurance sports or OCR and trying to mix CrossFit?
So if you're trying to mix those two things, it can be a little bit difficult because, with the endurance sports, if you've ever looked at a marathoner, they're very, very thin, and then you look at a power lifter and they're like, right? So two very different sports. In order to combine them, you kind of have to decide what your favorite, like, what is your number one goal? Like, what are you going to really be training for? Are you training for high rocks? Are you training for OCR race? Are you training for a marathon? Or are you training for a CrossFit competition or a powerlifting competition? Depending on what you're training on, you're going to skew your training towards that one thing. But that doesn't mean you can't also kind of train for those other things or keep at least a baseline level for those things in the background. I always like to say, so if you're training heavy and you're lifting heavy, then your cardio needs to be down here for the day. And then as your week goes on, maybe your lifts start to, okay, I'm not lifting as heavy now, my cardio can increase. So they need to kind of have an inverse relationship as they're being programmed so that those two pathways don't interfere with each other. So you can continue to gain strength while you're increasing your endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very specific
Yeah.
programming. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like it's, it is kind of sport dependent. So like maybe with powerlifting specifically, you're looking at, hey, if you're going to be doing your compound lifts for the day, doing a little bit more of like less lower body pulling or lower squat or horizontal press on any given day,
Yeah.
and maybe looking at doing uh, uh, less contraction volume type CrossFit workout or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. Guys, got anything else on that or any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think like in specific or being specific to like powerlifting, if it's like a weak lift for you, you should dedicate a full day to that. Like that should have
Yeah.
any extras in it. You shouldn't be doing CrossFit on that day. Like if it's your bench press, like that day should be bench and accessory to your bench press. Or like deadlift or squat or vice versa, and that should just be your sole day. If it's something that's stronger for you, maybe that's like a really good day to intermix, your strong lift with CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good point, Bree. Okay, let's get into what is the most challenging part of your job and what is a common misconception. I think most of you guys are a little bit newer to the online side of space, so maybe we can chat a little bit about the coaching in person, and then we can maybe do a little bit of chatting about the online side as well. But maybe so. Yeah, you guys want to jump off on that?
Yeah, who wants to start?
We already hit on the client that chats your ear off for 30 minutes, so we
Yeah.
got to go with something else.
Yeah. You said starting with like in person first.
Yeah, let's do in
Yeah.
person first. Yeah.
I think a common misconception is that because you work in a gym, it must be easy to get your workout in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I don't think I actually like almost made a post on this the other day, and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna offend people or piss people off, so I decided not to. But no, Michelle said this like way earlier on, but like I used to be very like I had to get my workout done at this time. I had 2 sessions a day. I started at 10, I started at 1, I coached in between that, and I would be like very not happy if my day got skewed. And I think in order to be successful and happy, like being a coach and athlete, you have to be flexible and like learn. Like, I don't really have a structured workout schedule. My schedule changes every day. So that helps a lot. But like, there are days where I like have a plan to start my workout. Actually, last week, there was a day I literally started my workout at 6 a.m. and I didn't finish it until 6 p.m. Like, things just kept popping up, and I knew I was going to get my strength in at 6, and I was planning on finishing my Metcon at 10, and it just didn't happen. Like, things kept like popping up in my schedule, or people would come in and I had to troubleshoot some issues that I literally didn't get to start my last session until like 4:30 p.m. And I don't like working out in like the middle of class while class is going on and stuff like that. So it's just not always easy to get your workout in because you work in a gym. Like, you still have a job to do, you still have expectations, and things pop up out of your control every day.
I mean, I think that kind of nails it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We're all like, yeah, this happens every day.
Every day.
I,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't coached classes in like over 10 years here, but I remember this is just something I could add in here, but um, coaches aren't always as energetic as their personality puts off to the class. I remember just being
Oh, yeah.
absolutely drained
So true.
in like the third class I was coaching, but it was like fake it till you make it, man, and then you get to go home and just stare at a wall.
That is a motto I live by. Fake it till you make it. Like
My life.
that's such a good point. At my last gym, like we all did this personality test. It's like the Enneagram test, or no, sorry, no, it was like I don't know, like INFJ, like the Myers Briggs test.
Mhm.
You guys
Hmm.
are familiar with that? Every single one of our 8 coaches was introverts, except one.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, that says a lot that like you can really be passionate about what you do and be energetic in your comfort space, which like for us, it's a gym.
Mhm.
And it's working out and exercising and health and fitness. But like there were times where I would just realize that I drove home in complete silence because I couldn't do any more noise. And like I'd get home and I'd be like, did I even listen to anything? And not even realize it was just dead silent. I'd black out. Like I'd get home and not remember my drive, you know? You're just drained from being so extroverted all day and putting on face, you know? So yeah, that's definitely a misconception, I think. I think a lot more coaches are introverts than what you would think.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it is exhausting. Yeah, it can be a lot. The like Kyle said, the third hour, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I still have to. We gotta go. Like have some coffee. You're gonna make this happen.
I think
Yeah.
like a maximum of 3 classes a day is pretty much what you can do.
yeah,
Like
Oh,
and be like happy and energetic to your classes. Like after the third one, you're just like zombie faced, just going through the motions.
I get really
and
weird if I
uh,
watch more than 3 classes a day. So
and contrary to that energy level, coaching the same thing for 3 classes in a row is the most mind-numbing experience that you have can ever experience.
yeah,
Yeah, my last gym, it was Monday through Friday was my schedule, and I had 3 classes a day. And if it was like a 40-minute conditioning workout, like by the second class, I'd just be like, all I'm doing is yelling time, and I can't coach the row anymore. Like, you
Yeah.
can only coach a rower so many times and walk body weight walking lunges or whatever it would be. Oh man.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
with that, I've actually, to that point, I figured out how to, with each class, I coach it differently, use different cues, use like
Oh,
a
that's good.
different thing just to kind of keep yourself a little bit more engaged with the class.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
use that at, I coach at 6 a.m. and then we have like a 6, 7, and 8 a.m. So while I get the same message across, is the way I approach that message is just a little bit different. Granted, everybody, it's a different people, so they all kind of respond differently to
Hmm.
what you're saying. So 7 a.m. is vastly different than our, 6 a.m. So
Hmm.
what works with 6 a.m. doesn't always work with 7. Like I've tried to use the same thing and I just get blank stares. Like one class I can joke with, the other class it's like that is not happening.
Yeah.
You know, have
Yeah.
you ever guys seen those memes where, the coach is up in the class, tells this joke, thinks it's gonna be super funny, and then it's dead silence?
Just the
Yeah, I
crickets.
mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that
Yeah.
one time. I thought this was gonna be the funniest thing, and it was just like, you're not funny. It's 7 a.m. I'm like, all right,
Brutal.
on to the next.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting too, just how influential the group close coaching atmosphere and like the build up for that next step in your coaching career is important. Like, I came from group coaching. I haven't done it in 10 years, but there's still so many takeaways that I had from that, that I can apply to both my online athletes as I'm kind of typing and talking to them through the internet, that I would not have had the experience had I not had that foundational like group training for four years of my coaching experience.
I have actually always said that I think it would be really, really hard to be a good online coach without being an in person coach first.
Totally.
There's so many things that you pick up on physically and in person, or like even with certain movements, like common faults that people have that you
Hmm.
really wouldn't know. Like if you only online coach, and some athletes are just like not great at sending you videos. Like you have to kind of like beg them to send you a video of something, and then you're like, okay, well, we've been doing this wrong for 3 weeks. Like, let's start getting more feedback on this. So if you're an, I know plenty of online coaches that never really give video feedback. Like, you have no
Yeah.
idea how that person could be moving. If
Yep.
you're doing a push press, push jerk complex, and you know that some people tend to be jerky in their push press, like you might be able to make notes on that and solve a problem before it arises just because you've seen it thousands of
Hmm.
times in class or in person.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be able to coach like the low, like in my opinion, you have to be able to coach the baseline to be able to coach anything higher than that baseline. And class is like
Absolutely.
the baseline. You have people walking in and off the street that have never done an athletic thing in their life. And now
Yeah.
you're like, all right, we're going to go snatch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, even like trying to tell someone to jump, some people can't even like jump. They don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
And it's like try to coach that online where it's already happened and you're trying to solve the problem for the program that you programmed next week. Yeah, agreed.
totally. Yeah, yeah. Okay, maybe let's do a quick jump into just the online side of things, like misconceptions from the online side of things. Then we'll start wrapping up here. But what do you? I know you guys, Michelle, you've run online side of things before too. But what do you guys got here for this one?
I think one big misconception is when you have an online coach, it's like a program that you just follow,
Mhm.
and versus it's like, hey, I want you to give me some feedback with your specific things that you're doing, or because I mean the feedback goes a long way with knowing injuries or tweaks that are happening, so you can kind of stay ahead of things before they become an actual real big problem in your
Hmm.
training and kind of puts a halt to everything. So it's like when you're approaching an online coach or getting an online coach, the communication aspect and being able to have an open dialogue with your coach is key with your program or what you're following, uh, being successful with it. So it's not just a mindlessly thing, it's the communication thing with your coach goes a long way with your success. So
Totally. Yeah, I don't mean to jump in here, but that's like one of the big things. That's one of my big gripes in the industry is there are so many people that just get a program and they don't know any better. That there are people out there like us that are genuinely communicating with their clients and like asking for videos, giving them video feedback. Using Loom to actually like go and coach that individual. It makes it hard as an organization that's a little bit smaller like us to really showcase what true online coaching is, and it's not just paying attention to three, four, five, six of your really good athletes, and then everybody else just kind of gets a copy of that program, and maybe they make adjustments, maybe they don't, maybe you just get that program, and then they're just kind of they might do a phone call once every 6 weeks or something like that to check in, and then it's just that's I think probably the biggest misconception that and biggest hurdle inside of the industry is trying to really differentiate yourself from actual coaching online versus just writing somebody a program.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen so many times like people paying like three, four, $500 a month to basically get like the main site programming from that company, and then maybe just some different accessory work or adjustments or something like that, but it's not like truly individualized for them.
Hmm.
Or they have like monthly calls with their coach and their coach doesn't remember what they talked about last time. Like, I think it's if you don't know what is going on in your client's life, like you forgot that they're getting married in a month, or, they just had like, I just had a client that her dog got attacked by a bobcat,
Mm.
like heartbreaking. Her dog's okay and stuff, but it was really hard on her. Like there had to be some adjustments made there, so like life stresses and stuff like that too. Like that's not in a template program. And if you're buying a template that should be like 30-50 bucks maybe, and then you're expected to do it on your own, but that's not coaching. There's a huge
Hmm.
difference there. I mean, I know you and I have talked about this so many times, but
Yeah.
definitely a big pet peeve in the industry for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Huge difference between doing an
And,
online program and an online coach.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
which then
Yeah.
makes it harder for everybody else to kind of, buy into your organization
Hmm.
as a whole, because it's like, well, it's probably the same thing that I'm going to get, versus when you actually experience quality with, just the coaches and your program. It goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. And we just started recently using Coach RX a couple months ago, and there's a unique feature on there called touch points where it actually shows you how many times you've kind of messaged your clients or responded to their clients results on the app. And man, that has been so valuable. Like we set a
Really?
standard of, yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
set a standard of 3 times a week minimum, but we're trying to do, that's the minimum that we're responding to our clients' result. In reality, it's 4 to 5, and like if it's not 5, that fifth day was kind of just like a aerobic day where you're just like nice, not much can be gained from that one. So, and we're at you know 70% plus, 80% plus on our touch points for clients. Sometimes clients don't do the workouts that you write in there for them, and then you can't get higher on your touch points.
Or you have clients that do the workouts, but they never check them off. You know who I'm
Yeah.
talking about if you're listening.
Can't wait to see
Start
these
checking off
comments.
your
I feel
workouts.
called out.
No,
So,
I kind of like piggybacking off of that. I hope this isn't getting too far off topic, but the first week of Fitness to the Coast, we had a couple people reach out to us because of the videos that Kyle put out with like helping on the workouts and like tips to be successful on the Fitness to the Coast workouts. And I was having a conversation with one girl, and she was kind of burned in the online coaching community. Just
hmm.
I won't like name who she was burned by or who it is, but she was very like fearful to hire an online coach again because she, kind of like what I said is like they do a monthly call. Sometimes she was the one reminding her coach. Otherwise, she didn't hear anything, and she felt like she wasn't given as much attention because she wasn't a games athlete. And she asked me on the phone call. And like at first, I was kind of like, I don't really know how to answer this because she was like, "Do you do monthly calls with your clients? I mean, it sounds like you guys communicate enough that you don't really need to." And I was like, I wish I could say we did, but honestly, like if I do, it's usually me reaching out to my clients, asking them if they want to call. But like truly, it's really rare that like they won't hear from us for more than 2 days, unless it's a
Yeah.
weekend or we're out of town. But like that, typically we give plenty of advanced notice on that, and
Hmm.
whether it's like through the app conversation, us commenting on workouts or like texting, through qualifiers, seeing how their body's feeling when we are inputting their programming, making sure they're like okay or certain injuries are doing well and we can keep progressing and stuff. Like it's very rare that we're not talking to our people every couple days at least.
Yeah. 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 I think that's probably the biggest misconception of our job is how much communication actually goes into being a good online coach. Like you are talking to people from the time you wake up. I wake up and the first thing I do is send text messages. Like
Yep.
literally, I don't even get out of bed. I'm sending I'm making sure that somebody that had that's working out at 5, 6 a.m. didn't have any questions, and then I'm getting ready for the day, and then my last text message is before I go to sleep at night. So it's like you're just constantly in communication with people, and like it needs to be because that's kind of you're not seeing the person in face or face to face to relay a bunch of information to them. You got to kind of spread it out through over the course of a day through text messaging or results reporting or whatever it might be. So,
Definitely.
well, cool. Thanks for jumping on this, guys. It was a lot of fun. I think we'll probably try and do this maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, just kind of get a round table going again and just kind of chat through some other topics that we have coming up. But real quick, guys, how do people just find you, follow you, see what content you're putting out?
You can follow me on Instagram at J McGenny.
How do you spell that? I think it's on here, but just spell it for the listeners.
Oh, okay. Well, my last name, MGHENYI.
There you go.
Sweet.
Don't try to pronounce it. I mean, it's hard for some people, and that's okay.
I've already fucked it up so
I
many
think it
times.
kind of rolls off the tongue. McGinney?
McGinney.
It's close.
Okay. Thank you.
I like to think. I like to tell people. So in Spanish, the N that has like the little swirly thing on top of it.
McGinney.
Yes, there you go.
McGinney. Gotcha.
That
It's the
works.
same like "ny" sound.
Knee. Okay.
Kyle has that
Perfect.
like in his phone automatically.
What?
Like, your keyboard, how ours has like all the English letters. Kyle's had the like Spanish N on it, and it was throwing me off when I was trying to make stories one day on your Instagram account.
Oh, it's probably because
on
I
your-
was using Duolingo.
I kept messing up words because it was like throwing off the whole keyboard.
You should have just left it in there. The Latums
Like
would have
every
loved it.
N just uses Spanish N.
Our Latum community would have loved it.
Like on the word and.
Yeah,
And.
that's sweet. Bree, where do people find you on Instagram, or how do people find you on Instagram?
At Sriana Biegert. So basically my first and last name, just the first letter switched around. And that's the only
Sweet.
social media I have.
Gotcha.
And then Michelle.
So my Instagram is just Michelle Poley, the number 1. So Michelle Poley 1. Poley spelled Pohle. I have another one, just Michelle Poley, but I don't use that one as much anymore. So the number 1 is
Sweet.
the one on now. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next podcast here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, guys.
Do I hang up?